Hello, my name is Marissa Gonzalez-Ibarra, and today we are going to be exploring the role of perceived belonging and social engagement in stress and academic outcomes. Social connection may buffer against stress and improve academic outcomes. Stress for incoming undergraduate college students is highly prevalent and increases throughout college. The stress from transitioning to college and increased autonomy may be an important factor leading to social, emotional, and academic maladjustment, which is common in first-year college students. Psychosocial factors such as social engagement, and perceived belonging in first-year college students have the potential to decrease the magnitude of stress and its related impacts on adjustment, including academic outcomes. The objective of our study is aimed to explore the role of perceived belonging and involvement in university-led activities on student stress perceptions and academic retention rates. For participants, we excluded non-traditional transfers and international students from the study as the population of interest was traditional students at the University of Oregon. Traditional students would be American students who graduated high school and entered college the following year for their freshman year. We incorporated longitudinal data from 273 participants, with 163 of them being female and the remaining 110 being male. Data was collected from the Student Wellbeing and Success Initiative and the Center for Student Involvement. For the procedure, participants received assessments via Qualtrics their freshman year and the first quarter of their sophomore year. This was recoded, creating two wavepoints for retention, stress, and belonging uncertainty. Percent of maximum possible scoring was used to transform the variables to a scale of 0 to 100 to improve the scale's readaptability and comparability. We have two predictor variable measures, the first being belonging uncertainty. The more belonging uncertainty increases, the more students felt they do not belong at University of Oregon. Belonging uncertainty was obtained through the use of a 4-item self-report survey. Response options used to measure belonging ranged in how likely the student agreed with the statements. Questions in the belonging uncertainty measurement included, I am unsure that I will belong at the University of Oregon. I sometimes feel that people at University of Oregon will or do not accept me. I worry that I will be or am an outsider at the University of Oregon. Student involvement is our second predictor variable, and this data was pulled from the Center for Student Involvement at the University of Oregon. This data measured student involvement based on whether or not a student participated in said activity. Our outcome variable measures included stress and retention. Stress scores were obtained from a 4-item self-report survey. Responses to these items allowed students to indicate how often they felt the sentence occurred. The items measured in perceived stress sections included, in the last month, how often have you felt that you are unable to control the important things in your life? While our retention variable reflects whether the student returned for their sophomore year. Covariate measures included subjective socioeconomic status scores using the MacArthur ladder. The response option was a Likert scale between 1 and 10, depicted next to a photo of a ladder with numbers on each rung. 10 was viewed as being the best off, and 1 was viewed as being the worst off. Ethnicity and race were recorded in an effort to investigate the association of perceived stress for Latino students. We use the weighted form of ethnicity weighted towards Latino students. This indicated Latino versus the average student weighted by group size. For our hypothesis, we predicted an association between engagement with the Center for Student Involvement and decreases in self-reported stress. Further, we predicted that this relationship would be moderated by perceived belonging uncertainty, such that lower rates of perceived belonging uncertainty would buffer against the prospective association between student involvement and stress. We found that while controlling for born sex, perceived social standing, and ethnicity weighted in favor of Latino students, belonging uncertainty did not significantly predict stress levels for the University of Oregon students over the course of their freshman year. Additionally, student involvement did not significantly moderate the relationship between belonging uncertainty and stress over a year's time. Our second hypothesis was that engagement with the Center for Student Involvement would be positively correlated with academic retention, such that those who engage more in the Center for Student Involvement would reflect higher rates of retention. We believe that this relationship would be moderated by perceived belonging uncertainty, such that lower rates of perceived belonging uncertainty would amplify the positive relationship between student involvement and academic retention. We found that while controlling for born sex, perceived social standing, and ethnicity weighted in favor for Latino students, that self-reported belonging uncertainty did not significantly predict second-year retention for the University of Oregon students. Additionally, student involvement did not significantly moderate the relationship between belonging uncertainty and second-year retention. If we take a look at the poster in the center section on the upper right-hand side, we see that belonging uncertainty is associated with perceived stress, but student involvement did not significantly impact this relationship. If we take a look down on the bottom middle section underneath retention, we see that there is no difference in the probability of retention based on student involvement or belonging uncertainty. Although our hypotheses were not validated, we did discover a notable relationship between perceived social societal status and second-year retention. This suggests that as social societal status increases, the likelihood for students to return for their sophomore year also increases. Further studies should examine this relationship. The present study collected data from the Center for Student Involvement, which, despite offering students a place to connect and develop their relationships, has irregular activity dates and may only be encouraging students with previously established peer groups to participate in said activities. One of the limitations of this study was our predictor variable, student involvement. Although there was no significant relationship between the Center for Student Involvement and stress, literature in this field does recognize that there is a significant relationship between other forms of activities college campuses provide for their student population that may also work as a buffer against stress. The Center for Student Involvement is a binary variable that did not allow us to make proper inferences regarding its ability to work as a buffer. Future studies should aim to incorporate variables that are not dichotomous in an effort to better understand the level of involvement in said activities. The present study's initial intention was to analyze stress disparities in predominantly Latino and Black students. Although barriers to accessing underrepresented populations persisted in the present study, similar to most research. Future studies should direct their attention to accessing these populations through the use of surveys. Colleges have access to race and ethnicity data in student records. With that, future researchers should utilize and collaborate with student records to access underrepresented populations, such as Black and Latino students, with small incentives to acquire data. The lack of representation of underrepresented students is a huge problem in all areas of research. It is extremely important that those who can get access to these populations do their best to increase the number of underrepresented people for more accurate and generalizable findings. Thank you.